Hello, loves. Welcome back to another Heart to Heart on the At Home with Founders podcast. If you are feeling overworked, stretched too thin, and still stuck in the day-to-day operations of your business, despite hiring, despite building systems, despite doing everything you were supposed to do, then this episode is going to open your eyes. Because listen, I'm just going to say it. Your business, the way that you've built it, is keeping you stuck. The way your business is currently built is keeping you stuck. Your back end, your operations is quietly holding you hostage at six figures. And you are not going to break past it unless you restructure the way that you are currently operating, the way that you are currently working in your business. So today, we are going to get brutally honest about three problems that you're most likely experiencing today. One, why your team isn't actually saving you time like you thought they would, and how to go about fixing that. How you're accidentally creating more work for yourself without even possibly realizing it. And three, the biggest operational mistakes that make growth and scaling feel harder rather than easier. So if you've been feeling frustrated, like you're doing absolutely everything right, but you're still running at full capacity, this episode is going to be your wake-up call. So grab your cup of coffee or your cup of organic tea, settle in, and let's get real about why your business is secretly keeping you small. All right, so we're going to start here because this one is probably going to sting a little bit. It might hurt. But let's talk about it. You finally decide to hire because you're at full capacity. You bring in people thinking, okay, this is definitely going to lighten my load. It's going to take things off my plate. It's going to make things easier. I'll finally be able to step back and focus on my zone of genius and strategy and growth. And things will run smoother now that I have a team to have my back. And then reality hits, sometimes like a brick wall. Instead of things getting easier for you, things feel way more complicated. Your team is constantly coming to you with so many questions. You're reviewing and tweaking everything before it goes out. You're constantly stepping in to correct things, to fix things, to make adjustments. So, what the heck happened? Well, the real problem, your team isn't trained to think for themselves. And here's the hard truth. Most people don't actually take ownership over things. They don't naturally take ownership over their roles. So if you've ever thought, why do they keep asking me about this? I've already explained it like 100 times, maybe even yesterday, and they're still asking me the same questions. Why can't they just make a decision? Why do I have to be involved in this? I feel like I'm managing children instead of a high-level team. If this is the case, then you're experiencing the difference between hiring task doers and decision makers. You don't really have a team, you have helpers. And helpers still require you to lead, to approve, and to fix things. So if you feel like you have to be involved in every single little detail in your business, everything under the sun, it's because you've built a culture of dependency. And guess what? You can actually fix it. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to start from scratch and hire a brand new team. There are things that you can do here. So step one, you are going to want to categorize the types of decisions in your business. Not all the decisions require your involvement. They don't all require your input. Some should 100% be handled by your team. But right now, they're likely bringing everything to you because they don't know what they're allowed to own within their own capacity and their roles. So we're going to break this down into three clear levels of decision making for you. Level one is autonomy-based decisions. And these are the types of decisions that your team owns completely. You do not need to be involved at all. Level two is guided decisions. So your team should propose a solution first, then bring it to you for your input. And level 3, CEO level decisions only. So these are the high level strategic moves that only you should be making as the CEO and owner of your business. So the goal here is to train your team to handle 100% of the level 1 decisions, 80% of the level 2 decisions, and only bring you level 3 decisions. So here's an example that we're going to run through just to give you some insight into what this could look like in real time. So let's just say you run a high-touch event planning business. Let's say you're an event planner working with really high-end clients. Level 1, so autonomy-based decisions. This could look like, can I adjust a client's itinerary based on a new venue restrictions? Yes, but use your best judgment. Level 2, a guided decision. We have 2 vendor options. Both are absolutely solid, but one is more expensive. Which one should we go with? So the team should present a pro and cons list before looping you in for your thoughts. Level 3, the CEO level only decisions. Should we pivot the decision or the business model to serve high profile clients exclusively? So of course, this is going to require your strategic leadership. So you see the difference. Your team should not be bringing you level 1 decisions. Now, level 2, they should come to you with a plan, a solution, ideas, not just the problem for you to solve. Step 2 is to give your team a decision-making process. So this is really key in all businesses where you have a team. The biggest reason that teams hesitate to make decisions is that they don't really know how. They don't know how to go about making the right decision. So we're going to fix that with a very simple framework. It's called the 3-step decision rule. So number 1 is, what is the actual problem? So make sure that they're solving the right issue. 2 is, what are 3 possible solutions? You're going to force them to think critically instead of just asking you for the answer. And 3, what is the best option based on our goals? So you're going to align the decision with your business priorities. So how this changes things within your business and within your team. Instead of your team coming to you with what should I do with XYZ, how should I handle this, etc., they now come to you with, here's what happened. Here's what I'm thinking. Does this work? Do you see the difference here? The goal is to train your team to present solutions to you, not just the problems for you to then come up with the solutions for. Step 3 is to then set boundaries around how and when your team can come to you when they need your involvement. So perhaps your Slack is blowing up with, just have a quick question, all day long. Well, you haven't set clear boundaries about decision making, around decision making. And that's why they're constantly coming to you. So this is how you can approach this type of an issue. You can use a method called the SOS versus FYI rule. So SOS is an urgent issue that affects revenue, reputation, or operations. And this needs your immediate input. You need to respond immediately. FYI is non-urgent. Your team is just keeping you in the loop on whatever it is because it's already been handled and you just need the update. So here's an example to kind of show you what this could look like in real time. So an SOS message via Slack could be, our biggest client is threatening to leave over a contract issue. Here's what's happening. Here's my proposed fix. How can I move forward? FYI, this could be, we resolved a client issue today by offering them a small VIP upgrade. They were thrilled and it reinforced our premium service. Just an FYI, this is how I handled it. This was the issue. Done. So your goal is to have your team rarely bring you an SOS. They should be handling everything themselves. Now, step 4 is train your team to trust themselves and to make good decisions without your involvement. So let's talk about the real reason your team keeps coming to you. It's not because they're incapable, right? And it's not because they don't care. They probably really do, honestly. They want to do a good job. They want to do well in their role. And it's definitely not because you hired the wrong people in most cases. You've most likely hired really skilled, talented individuals. It's actually because they don't believe that they have the authority to make the call on certain things. And you, most likely without realizing it, have reinforced that belief over time. And this happens so much in corporate, which often stays with people when they leave corporate to then go to a more entrepreneur type role. Now, before you start feeling really defensive or guilty, this is something that almost every CEO does. It happens in corporate, it happens in the offline space or the online space. You've spent years building this business with your own two hands. You've done it all within your business. You've built your reputation, your brand, and your quality standards up to a certain point. They are on the line. You've been so involved in every detail that it feels really risky for you to let go of things. You have some trust issues, perhaps. And because of that, you've unintentionally created a culture where your team doesn't trust themselves to make decisions. They don't trust themselves to step into their roles and to own it fully. But if you don't fix this, your business is never going to be able to scale beyond you. So, how do we break this pattern and train your team to actually step up, to own their roles? So, the thing is, trust is a skill, it's not a personality trait. So, your team has to be trained to trust their own judgment. They have to be trained to trust that they are going to make the right decision based off of the business goals, your values, etc. And you, as the CEO, have to actively support them in developing their confidence in this regard. So this isn't about just letting go and hoping for the best with them. This is about intentionally creating an environment where independent decision making is expected and it's rewarded. So we're going to break it down. Here's exactly how you can do it, how you can approach it with your team. So step one, you are going to want to stop answering all of the questions and start asking them instead. So this one's really hard because you want to just provide solutions. You just want to get it done type thing. But you need to spend a little bit of time here to coach them. So if your team constantly asks you, what should I do with XYZ? I know you're naturally just going to want to give them the answer, but stop. Instead of giving them the answer, ask them, well, what do you think? This is going to force them to take a moment to slow down and pause and think critically. They're going to consider their own expertise instead of defaulting to yours. They're going to take ownership over the outcome, which is massive. So let's walk through a real world example here just to show you what this could look like. So the old way, team member comes up to you and they're like, hey, a client wants to add something extra to their package. Should we charge them? It's just a small addition. Well, the new way of handling this is you saying, well, what do you think? How have we handled this in the past? What's the best decision for the business? At first, they might hesitate. They might get nervous. They might pause, but give them time. It's absolutely normal. The more that you redirect the question back to them, the more that they're going to learn to trust their own judgment, to pause and think for themselves. Step two is to shift from approval mode to guidance mode. So one of the biggest traps that CEOs fall into is being the approval machine. Now, this happens to everybody. It's even happened to me, so do not be hard on yourself here. If your team is waiting on you to sign off on every little thing before they take action, whether it's the marketing content strategy or content pieces that need to go out or client proposals, etc. It means that they don't trust their own judgment. They're afraid of messing up and have learned that waiting for your approval is easier than for them to make a decision. So the fix here is to remove yourself from the approval process. And we're going to walk through how you can do this. So again, take what applies to you and what aligns within your business. So here's how. The pre-approval process, instead of having your team come to you with, can I do this? Train them to come to you with, here's what I'm planning to do unless you say otherwise. Do you see the difference there? So let's talk through an example of what this could look like. Previously, they would have come to you with, should I offer this client a discount since they're asking for one? Instead, they will now come to you with, this client is requesting a discount. Based on our pricing policy, I believe that we should stand firm. I'll let them know unless you object. So your goal here is only to step in when it is absolutely necessary. You want to give them the confidence to make their own judgments, to come up with their own ideas, and then you can guide them on that. So when you start operating this way, your team is naturally going to start making decisions instead of waiting on you. And it's going to take some time. Change does take time to adjust to, so give it a bit of time before you have to take next steps. Your step 3 is to build a safe to fail culture. And this is where a lot of people struggle. So the real reason most teams don't make decisions is because they're afraid of getting it wrong. And let's be honest, have you ever reacted negatively when something didn't go exactly as planned or how you would have liked it to go? This happens so much in corporate, and this is a lot of the times what builds that belief that is then brought into the next business. So if your team has ever heard, why did you do it this way? Next time, just ask me first. I'll fix it. Then they've learned that taking risks isn't safe. And guess what happens when people feel like mistakes are not allowed? They're going to stop making decisions altogether. They are going to reinforce the habit of coming to you for approval on every single thing. So if you want a team that can operate without you, you have to make it safe for them to learn. And yes, there will be errors, there will be lapse of judgments, and you will have to do some coaching, but that is all part of the learning process. So the mistake review process, this could be like when something goes wrong, instead of fixing it yourself, you're going to coach them through it. So example, this was done wrong. Next time, just bring it to me first. This could be a way that you've handled it in the past, but going forwards, handle it this way. Okay, so let's talk through this. What exactly happened? What was your process or your thought process through it? What will you do differently next time? So this does two different things. It helps them see mistakes as learning opportunities, which they absolutely are, instead of failures. It shifts you from the fixer to the leader, which is where you need to be within your team and business. The goal here is not perfection, it's progress. Step 4 is to reinforce good decision making, even when it's not exactly what you would have done in that specific scenario. So this is really important. When your team finally makes a good decision or they start making decisions, you need to celebrate them. Even if the decision isn't exactly how you would have handled the situation or what you would have done in that circumstance, if the client is happy, acknowledge it. If the problem got solved, reinforce that. If it wasn't perfect, but they took initiative, recognize that. It's so important to do that. So let's again walk through an example of what this could look like. I saw you handle that vendor issue that we had come up on your own today. I just want to say, amazing job. I so appreciate that you took ownership over that. This is going to tell your team that you're trusted. You're absolutely capable and keep going. You've got this. The more that you do this, the less they're going to need you. The less they're going to need you to step in, the more they're going to trust themselves to make decisions. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a reality check. If your team can't run things without you, it's a leadership problem and it's not a team problem. And I know that that is really tough to hear because we want to do really good as the leader of our business. But your team's ability to make decisions is a direct reflection of how you've led them as the leader of the business and team. If they do not trust themselves, it's because you've trained them not to. You've been the approval bottleneck. You've stepped in and fixed things instead of coaching them through it so that they could then learn from that situation, that experience, and take it with them into the next one. But the good news is that this can be reversed. You can absolutely train your team to be independent and flip the script. And once they are, you're finally going to be able to step into the role of the CEO that you've been craving to. So instead of babysitting your team, because I know that this is not ideal, you lead them. Instead of being stuck in the weeds, you focus on strategy. Instead of being stuck at full capacity, your business actually scales when you do all of these things. So when this happens, your inbox is going to naturally clear up. Your Slack is going to have moments of quiet, and your business is going to run without you being involved in every single little detail. All right. So that was a really big one, and I hope you got a lot out of it that you can apply in your business. But now that we've tackled the first major bottleneck, your team not trusting themselves to make decisions, we're going to go into the next problem. So let me ask you this. Even if your team suddenly becomes A+ superstar decision makers overnight, they are handling it, you are out of the weeds, would your business actually run without you? So the thing is, a team that makes decisions is only half of the equation, right? It's only half of the issue. The bigger issue is your business is still built around you. You've done the work, you've built out the systems, the automations, the workflows, the templates, the team, but somehow everything is still funneling back to you, which is so frustrating, right? Your systems, so the systems, the processes, the tech, the workflows, the automations, they work, but only if you are managing them. Your team, they execute, but they still depend on you for approvals. Your automations, yeah, they save time, but they don't actually remove you from the process. And at the end of the day, you are still in the middle of everything. Now, if you don't fix that, if you don't take the time to fix this issue, scaling and growing your business will never feel easier. So now I want to talk about how to remove yourself as the bottleneck for good. That's it, taking you out of this equation. So we're going to dive into the second problem now. Building your business, the way that you've built your business is around you. So we're going to be honest for a second here. If you disappeared for a week, a month, on a really great vacation that you highly deserve, would your business keep running at the same high standard? Or would things start to fall through the cracks and to fall apart? Because here's the thing, you've built the business, but they still require you. You've automated things, but somehow they still funnel back to you. You've hired a team, but they still depend on you for all of the approvals. You're constantly in the mix. You're constantly approving things, tweaking things, managing things, doing everything that you probably shouldn't be doing. And that's why growing your business, that's why scaling still feels really heavy. Your business has not been built to run without you. It's been built to run because of you. So if that doesn't change, scaling will never get easier. It's just going to mean more work because scaling, you're doing more essentially. You're taking on more clients, etc. It's just going to add more work to your plate. So I want to fix this. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to break it down into steps for you. So step one is to audit every approval step and remove yourself from the unnecessary ones. So ask yourself this one simple question when things come up. Does this actually need me? If the answer is yes, then of course you're going to keep it. If the answer is no, remove yourself completely. Most CEOs are accidental bottlenecks because they've inserted themselves into processes that don't actually require them being a part of it. So we're going to talk through a real life example here, just so that you get an idea of what this could look like. So the before, every single proposal must be reviewed by you before it is sent out to any client. What it should be like is your team follows a clear proposal template. Only custom exceptions come to you for approval. Here's another example. Your team asks for approval before posting content on social media. So you have to review and approve every single content piece. The opposite is you set brand guidelines so that they can post confidently without waiting on you, or you create a custom GPT that is trained on your brand voice and whatnot so that they can create content that is aligned. The goal here is to reduce unnecessary approvals so that your team can execute without waiting on you to move things forward. Step two is to set a good enough standard so that perfectionism stops slowing you down. And this is a huge one with majority of CEOs I work with. So the truth that might sting a little bit, your perfectionism is keeping you in the weeds. It's why you still double check everything. And it's why you rewrite emails before they go out. It's why you tweak client deliverables even when they're already fantastic. And while that level of obsession with quality might have served you really early on, it's now actively preventing you from scaling. So I'm going to talk you through what you need to do. You need to set a standard of good enough. And good enough is more than good enough. Define what quality looks like, then trust your team to hit it. And every step that you take should only be ones that require your expertise. So only things that actually require your expertise should be when you step in. So here's an example. You personally rewrite every single client email before it's sent. Well, now your team follows a pre-approved messaging guide. Only exceptions come to you for approval. Currently, perhaps you review every piece of content before it goes live on social media. Going forwards, you approve the strategy up front, you have your custom GPT in place, and your team executes without you micromanaging. The goal is to have your team know the quality bar within your business so that they can hit it without you fixing everything. Step three is to build a business that runs without you, and this is a 30-day test. So let's go back to that question. If you had to leave for 30 days, for a month on a luxury vacation or something, would your business still function without you being there? Would sales still come in? Would clients still be served at the highest level? Would things still keep moving forward, or would everything stall because you weren't there to drive it forward? So if your answer is no to any of those questions, here's what needs to change. Your systems should be built for efficiency, not just organization. If your systems don't create speed and autonomy, they are not true systems, they're just to-do lists. Your team should be trained to operate without you. If they always need your input, you don't have a team, you have helpers. Your business should have a self-sustaining rhythm. If your absence would cause chaos, your operations are not actually optimized the way that you think they are. The goal here is to have your business run at full capacity, even when you need to step away. And we all need to step away at some point. So here's a little reality check for you. If your business only runs smoothly because you are in every single little detail, then that's not a business. It's a high-paying job. You didn't build this business to feel like a never-ending 9 to 5. That's why you built this business, to get out of that. You built it for freedom, whatever freedom means to you. You built it for expansion. You built it so that you can scale without making your life harder. So now let's fix the last piece, why scaling still feels hard. Now we're going to dive into some things here. This is the third problem. You're over-optimizing instead of solving the right issues, which I see all the time. Now let's talk about something that a lot of high-achieving founders get wrong, and it's probably the reason why scaling still feels heavy for you. Most CEOs assume that the problem that they're experiencing is, I need better systems, but their business model is the actual issue. Or perhaps it's, I need more automations, but their team isn't actually executing. Another one could be, I need to be more productive, but they're working on the wrong things. They're focused on the wrong things, the things that are not needle moving. So let's talk about what's actually happening here. You're optimizing processes inside a structure that may already be broken, that may not be working well for you. You're adding automations to inefficiencies instead of eliminating them. So you see where there could be some issues there. You're tweaking small details instead of fixing a root issue, right? So you always have to get down to the root. And this is why things may still feel hard for you. So I'm going to talk you through how to fix it here. You're going to stop treating the symptoms and you're going to solve the real bottlenecks, the root issues that are currently happening in your business. So instead of jumping to, I just need better systems, you should ask yourself, what's actually slowing things down here? What is the actual root issue? Because sometimes it's not a systems problem. It's a structural issue, right? So you want to get to the real issue. You want to spend some time investigating it a little bit further. So here's how to break it down. Is this a workflow issue or is it a business model issue? Are you trying to optimize a process that's actually inefficient at its core? Is complexity creeping in? Are you adding layers of tech, which a lot of people do, unnecessary steps, or approval processes that don't actually need to exist? Are you scaling something that isn't even scalable? Are you trying to grow a model that can't handle volume? So the goal is, don't just optimize. Fix that foundation in your business. Fix the root issues. The whole goal here is to simplify before you scale, because complexity kills growth, right? My favorite saying is KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, silly, whatever you want to use that last S for. But high growth businesses, they run on simple, repeatable models. They don't run on complexity. So they don't run on overcomplicated workflows and processes. That's going to kill your growth. So the more complex your business gets, the harder it is for you to actually scale it. So before you try to automate, before you try to delegate or optimize, always ask yourself, can this be simplified? Look at every single system, every process, every offer, and ask, is this the easiest way for me to do this, or for our team, or for the business to do this? Remove what's unnecessary before adding in more layers. So let's give you a little example here to walk you through what this could look like. Perhaps you've built out an ultra customized onboarding process for every single client. Instead, try creating a high touch but streamlined workflow that works for all clients. Here's another example. Your team has 5 different software tools for project management. Instead, try simplifying it down to one tool that integrates with everything. The rule is simple. If it feels complicated, you are making it too hard. Business does not have to be hard. The ultimate test for scalability, and we're going to dive into this now, and this is going to be a reality check for some of you, is to ask yourself, if growth is adding more stress instead of freedom, is my business really set up to scale? Simple question. Are you feeling more stressed and not having as much freedom as you thought? Is your business really set up to scale? Because scalable businesses don't feel like they're drowning under their own weight. They feel expansive. They feel clear. They feel lighter. They feel simple. And if your business doesn't feel that way yet, it's time for you to stop tweaking and start restructuring. All right. I know how hard it is to step back and to look at that bigger picture when we're so in the thick of it in our business, when everything feels urgent. It's easy to think that you just need to tweak one more thing, add one more tool that you saw somebody rave about on social media, or work just a little bit harder, put in a few more hours. But scaling isn't about doing more, it's about doing things differently. So, if today's episode hit home for you, take a breath. Know that you're not alone in this, and know that your business can run smoother. It can run lighter and with more ease, starting with the decisions that you are going to make today. So, I'd love to hear what resonated with you most from this episode. So, DM me on Instagram at Project Love Co. and tell me what's one thing that you're going to do to simplify this week. What's one thing that you're going to do to empower your team to make decisions this week? I want to hear from you guys and hear that you're taking action. Now, if you found this episode helpful, I would love it. It would mean the world to me if you left a quick review either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you shared the episode with a fellow founder that you think might need to hear this. But make sure that you're subscribed because next week we're diving into another game-changing conversation, and I would love for you to be a part of it. But that is it for today, love. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week.